On this podcast, Biashara Box, our core is content creation. Okay, I know we are using the words film and photography, but those are like among the top, very powerful visual tools of content creation today.
You know, when you grow up in an African country, or even just Kenya, there's the way your parents will always want to panel beat your
your career. Yes.
Path. Yeah. I think I grew up too fast. Not because I wanted to, but because of the situations I found myself in life. If I tell someone I used to shoot in a nightclub in Nyanyuki at 500 bob at night, they won't necessarily resonate with me right now. I found myself the only black person in that room. And it was scary. Like it was a bit scary.
Yes.
But equipment is only important if you know how to use it. I have to say Jackson Wild was a turning spot for me. At that time, I was actually going to give up.
Okay.
Yeah. I made a lot of personal relationship mistakes, especially regarding finances and stuff. And what I've came to learn is that you need to know your value as a photographer. The money is there. It just depends on which door you're knocking.
Yes.
Or how you're knocking that particular door.
And how you're packaging yourself.
You're packaging yourself.
Hello everybody and welcome to the third episode of Biashara Box. Today we are very happy to have Anthony Ochieng aka Tony Wild as our guest. And for me I'm really happy because Tony Wild was my photography student back in around 2016-2017. And then the amazing thing about Anthony Ochieng aka Tony Wild is that every 1 or 2 months you get to see he's either getting a recognition or is being called into an international event to speak or he's getting an award. Yani, this guy has gotten so many awards mpaka it's like we lost count. But then I'm sure he's going to give us a lot of interesting things about content creation because he's in that space of content creation, not exactly for business, but for conservation. So, Tony Wild, karibu sana.
Thank you, Steve.
How have you been?
Okay.
Yes. I think you have been traveling a lot, lakini, for the past 6 months, eh?
Yeah, traveling is part of the job, or part of the process of actually being able to get out there. And if you stay in the house, animals won't come to you.
Okay.
Or stories won't come to you in the house.
Yes, I think even sometimes I think sometimes I just get jealous when I see you traveling. Mpaka kuna time ulikuwa you are in some cruise ship somewhere. Eh?
The cruise ship is another different story. It was special.
It was okay.
Yeah, but you see, these particular experiences are the ones that make you figure out how best can you be able to upscale your skill set because I can't stay in the same level every single day.
Okay.
So these experiences and interactions with people is more of like a learning space.
Okay.
Whether it's from a cruise ship, whether it's underwater, whether it's on land, whether it's on the forest.
Yes.
Or you meet people.
And it gets to broaden your perspective of things and all that.
And I think that's the best part of what I do.
Yeah. So since we have around an hour, I think I first want us to start in your earlier life, when you were growing up. Did you always know that cameras and storytelling will be part of it? Ama ulijikuta?
I'll have to say I actually use the word privilege because privilege is a word that people don't really like to acknowledge. But I had a chance to interact with art. But now drawing art, not really photography or film, but I had a chance to feel the art and enjoy art. I think one of the instances I remember is I went to the national park back in the 90s, and when I came back, I was drawing lions. Like I had lions.
This national park here in Nairobi?
This Nairobi National Park. So, and I feel for me that's more like a privilege because not everybody at that particular time had a chance to even visit national parks. But then Gava they did their thing, scrapped out art and everything else.
Yes.
So I had to figure out a way. So I had to go back to the science world fully. And that is where everything was. Like you have to do You have to be a scientist. You have to be able to understand the stuff. So I had to leave the arts world and come back to the science space, which is a bit difficult because I think I was brought up more of like a creative person.
Yes.
But then, in a good way, the government changing the curriculum.
Bringing back art or taking away art?
Taking away art allowed me to now go explore another different world that allowed me now to be able to connect with what I love doing most.
When you say a different world means being able now to get like into the scientific side?
Yes, so now the scientific side was like, when they were scrapping out from seven subjects?
Seven subjects.
Yeah, subjects to 5 subjects. And like, what's really going on?
The only other thing.
But then the easier ones that will pass with that art, home science were being removed.
Oh, okay.
These are the ones that are helping me get the grades.
Yes.
But then they're being removed.
Yes.
So, and once they're removed, it means they're no longer within that curriculum.
Okay.
And see, this affected. So this is just how a small change can really make someone lose their route into being something different.
So it could have been a negative thing for the curriculum, but for you it started aligning the planets for your future.
For my future, moving forward. Yeah.
Okay. And I just want you to tell us how you consider yourself, your own definition. But before that, I want to ask you, so of course now there is growing up and then you proceeded to go on to college, university. How was that like? Now in terms of aligning the planets for you, and what did you study? Where did you study? So that ukaanza kuingia sasa kwa mambo ya conservation or related kind of topics.
So, nisemaji. When you grow up in an African country, or even in just Kenya, there's the way your parents will always want to panel beat your career
yes.
path.
Yeah.
So
unataka usome nini kama anko fulani.
Yes, which is something interesting. But then you find that I think, and I think I mentioned this earlier, that I think I grew up too fast. Not because I wanted to, but because of the situations I found myself in life, where I had to be able to step up.
Okay.
So my decisions were not based on uncertainty. They were based uncertainty, but they were based on if I do this, what will it result?
Yeah.
So when I was in school, I think in high school mostly, I used to be that kind of person who was more outdoors, like environment stuff, planting trees, nature stuff.
But not agriculture.
Funny enough, I did agriculture.
Part of it. Oh. Now we shall revisit that. Okay. So you loved outdoors.
So I loved outdoors, but I did agriculture in high school. I did agriculture. I did some bit of biology. Biology and agriculture were some of my strongest, and geography was key for me. I didn't know what I was going to do, but interestingly, when I was choosing my joint admission board admission, I chose 3 universities. So 3 courses. One was being a Kiswahili teacher, which is Kiswahili. But for the 2 other 2 courses in UN and Moi University, I chose wildlife management. Okay. So meaning I was really, really particular. I just wanted something that would get me to the outdoors.
Yes.
Not necessarily being in a class, because I've taught before. So when I was teaching, people choose careers based on what they've experienced.
Yes.
So even before I joined campus, as in Moi, I used to teach in one of the local schools back at home.
Okay.
So in that process of teaching, like, this can actually be a career. Yes. So when you're choosing your joint admission board, you're looking like, but this wildlife. So I chose wildlife 1, wildlife 2, that is Moi and UN, and then chose Kiswahili.
Kiswahili now was mambo ikikataa.
Not really mambo ilikata. I was good in Kiswahili in terms of writing, but not really speaking it.
Okay. Yeah. I see. I think you are pretty lucky, because there are quite a number of people, especially in the creative space, where their career paths are just chaotic. Someone is doing something totally unrelated, a number of wasted years. But you see, for you, the wildlife management was preparation. Really good, relevant, deep, scientific kind of approach, maybe. Preparation for now your career. And I think that really really mattered.
It really helped.
It helped.
Yeah.
It helped a lot. Okay. So, alafu, before now from there is where I want you to tell us. So today now, having done that, today, we are creatives, we are artists, we are... So like now you want to be a DOP, you want to be a producer, unapiga picha, unafundisha, but if you are at the pearly gates walking into heaven and St. Peter is standing there and he asks you, so Tony Wilde, wewe ni nani? Like how would you really want even people to consider you? Because your path has also been quite a long one.
Yeah.
A lot of changes have happened. You've been reinventing yourself. What do you consider yourself today?
Funny enough, most people will consider me a photographer, but the way I define myself is an educator.
Okay.
But then using photography as a tool to do environmental education.
Okay.
But then in definition, what I am right now is a conservation photographer.
Conservation photographer.
Yes.
But Tony, you're also a filmmaker.
So I do films, but
yeah.
But let's just be realistic at some point. Conservation photography is a new space. Is not something that
is it.
It is a new space. Like it's not something that at the time I was starting up. I think I'll even count how many number of Africans actually doing it.
Oh, okay. I think even. What the others who are doing
it was a very lonely
guys
space.
Who are doing this kind of photo and film content really in were they there like in Kenya really?
No, they're mostly people from the western part of the country of the world.
Yeah,
and I can even remember one.
It was a preserve of Wazungus.
Yes, so the access wasn't that easily. So you can imagine you can't access the equipments and then you can't access even the story. So you can't really create.
Okay.
Yeah, you understand the science, you enjoy the science, you love it to the core, but you can't be able to tell that story.
I see. So you see, there is a lot of multiplicity in who you are. Eh?
Yes.
But definitely at the core, you want to be a conservation photographer.
That's
what you consider yourself.
I'll consider myself to be to date, unless something happens between now and the time.
So around the time when we met, I think I got to know about it in between your early days of your career. Maybe you can tell us about it after you finished. Where did you get your stepping stones, and then how did you start transitioning step by step? Yeah.
So I've always wanted to be a scientist. Like I'm always happy with being a scientist. Okay. Like I'll always respect the fact that I went to school to study wildlife science, which is beautiful. But then one thing that made me be able to upscale is that there are the opportunities I had, like working in different places. Like I think the first place of work was in Giraffe Center in Karen. And amazingly, what I used to do there is teach people about giraffes. And I think that's where probably the camera interaction started, because visitors will come and then give you a camera and tell you, take a picture of maybe the giraffes.
Okay.
So, but I didn't necessarily know this was the direction I was going to take, because all I knew was I wanted to be an environmental educator. Like I just wanted to teach people about conservation.
And you said you had started teaching Uko back up country.
Yeah, so I'm just
already
like
had started picking up
on teaching, and that was the main thing. So once I did Giraffe Center, then I went to Laikipia Wildlife Forum, where I worked for almost like about 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years. This must have been between around 2012 to 2016 thereabout. 2016 thereabout. Okay. Yeah. And I think this particular period was a special one, because it didn't just allow me to understand conservation better, but I got a chance to interact with imagery. Oh, when you were working there? Yes. That time you were a scientist. I was just a scientist, but then I will see images. I will see wildlife images. Yes. I will go through images. Yes. And I just didn't realize I was actually training my eye to see images in a different way. So I think one of the websites I'll actually go to was Africa Geographic. They had like a competition, so I'll go down there and look at the images. Laikipia Wildlife Forum had a very nice photo book of the Laikipia ecosystem. Yes. So I used to like own one, and when I went back home, I will open them and look at these images like, this is really beautiful. And I want to do it, but I don't know how to. I didn't know how to do it. So in when I was now in Keep Your Wildlife Forums, when I reached out to figure out, is there really a photography school? But there was none. There was none at that time. There was none that just taught photography.
And that time you were based in?
I was based in Nanyuki. And the one that actually was Photo Magic, which was based in Nairobi. And they only had Wednesday classes. So I couldn't figure out how do I balance coming to a photography class in Nairobi and I'm in Nanyuki. So this is now where the journey starts. And I started looking for work that will now allow me to come and stay and be in Nairobi, because that was now my opening path. Okay.
I am wondering, photography. Of course, you came to our classes and you learned, and it helped you now have the skills so that you can pursue further. But then, had you already seen a clear path that you want to? Was it predestined in your mind that you wanted to get into photography and you wanted to do films and do all those things? Or I'm trying to find the connection until how you got even into film. Amma did film later on. Was it an afterthought or it was?
No, film came in back later.
Much later.
But photography was really, really strong.
Yeah.
When I used to work for Bad Life, there was this their annual magazine that came in. So I look at the magazine, I'm like, I want to be the guy who's taking those pictures. I want to take those pictures. I want to write those articles. I want to see my images on the cover page. I want to see the images. I want to see that. And that is what was driving me. I was like,
and this Bad Life was after the classes, after the course, after you took.
So now when I came back to Nairobi, I used to work for Bad Life International, and that's when I was like, you know what, I need to register for.
What kind of work were you doing? How did your job at Bad Life look like? What?
So at Bad Life, I used to do monitoring and evaluation. This is basically where I used to follow up with projects and see have they done their work. They got grants. So follow up with projects across 15 countries in Africa. Just following the Great Rift Valley. So countries that are along Great Rift Valley. So I'll go to different countries just looking at their work. But then one of the things that I realized is that when I went to the field, I had to come back with a report of at least images and an article.
Show us something.
Yeah, show us something, like what was really happening. And this really, and when I looked at the database of the images we had, they're not that at par. So I was like, how do I join into the space and help out with communication?
Now, Tony, on this podcast, Biashara Box, our core is content creation. Okay, I know we are using the words film and photography, but those are among the top, very powerful visual tools of content creation today. But then you have mentioned writing.
Yes.
And is it at that stage that, because I know you write and you're a good writer, which is a skill that is missing a lot with a lot of creatives, especially who are in the content creation space. But for you, is it at that stage of Bad Life, or had you started writing even reports and proposals when you're back in Kipia, or when you're teaching? That writing bit, how is it like? And did you ulingangana kuingia ama ilikuwa too natural?
Well, writing is not easy. Even replying to emails is work. Okay. But I think when I went in Bad Life gave me another set of skill sets that I didn't really anticipate. Because Bad Life is a policy organization that deals with conservation stuff, and for birds specifically. And you have to respond to emails because you're not going to the field. Everybody is across the globe. You can imagine it has partner countries across Africa, and you need to respond to them on email. So you had to be able to respond to everyone on email and communicate with them.
Yes.
And this, for me, it pushed my limits of writing.
And then the reports.
And also the reports. So I used to do monitoring and evaluation. So you have to do donor reports. You have to write fundraising reports. You have to... So this, you had to be able to figure out a way to write reports. But then this is totally different to story writing.
Okay.
Which is a totally different skill set.
Yeah.
So this is something I've just been learning. I've been running away from writing stories because I feel sometimes photography for me just speaks, but then I'm now realizing that when you combine writing and the pictures together, it has more powerful.
It has a bigger impact. Yeah.
Yeah, and not just writing. Sometimes you give it a personal human feel.
Okay.
So you don't just say that this is a giraffe
and give all the scientific details. And
it's beautiful, but you can make fun of that particular writing process.
Give it a human connection.
Yes.
Make it more captivating.
Yes.
Interesting. I think that's very important, especially for storytelling.
Yeah.
And from your personal, professional perspective, because there are people who are watching this and they are they're in the content creation space, they may not even want to soar as high as you in films that are being screened on the global scale, or pictures going into huge exhibitions. But then, what would you tell a young content creator the importance of having writing skills is? And I mean, does it open doors, as difficult as it may seem?
Writing is powerful, even if it's just because that is what helps you connect to a world that is online.
Okay.
If you can't write, it becomes so difficult. I don't know if it's okay, but I have to mention there is one of my favorite writers, Magunga. If you read his pieces and how he puts his content out, it really captivates you. The moment he combines it with photography, it's just like, wow, this is beautiful.
Had you said so that we look for him online, he's called?
Magunga. Yes.
He writes about mostly his topics.
He does lifestyle, a couple of different stuff.
But his writing pieces are...
Yes.
They are powerful.
They're powerful in their own way. And the way he blends in culture and current issues and stuff.
Yes.
And I was like, if I had his skills
ungekuwa mbali kuliko
with my photographers, like, yo, this is kind of good. But then it doesn't limit me per se to really build up. But then you can work with people like that. So that's another thing. So you don't necessarily have to be a writer, but then you can find people
to collaborate with,
who can elevate your writing or your thought process. That is what I actually did at the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, lakini accolades bwana umepata mingi. I'm just, for guys who are watching, let me just get this. Benjamin Mkapa, this was it during COVID just the other day, isn't it?
So Benjamin Mkapa was like 2 years. 2
years ago, yes. I remember the museum.
COVID,
so Benjamin Mkapa, the need for conservation, and then we have, of course, Safal Eye in the wild, done by MRM, isn't it?
Yeah.
You go to that place. We have a Forest Guardian, which is a film.
So Forest Guardian,
or does it also have did it start with photography or is it just purely a film?
It started with photography.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's a stretch of a project.
It's always a project. For me, all of them are actually more like projects. Yeah.
Finalist on Bloomberg Green Film Festival. Then we have Forest Guardian, Blue Water Film Festival. Then we have Earth Photo 2021, 2022. And then I think the most powerful, the one that I remember, it was, I think, earlier in your career, Jackson's Wild.
Yes. So
how was that like? Because I think that was quite powerful. Ndio ulienda majuu kwanza. I remember seeing you with some of the big ass cameras, and with wazungu zuko. US, isn't it?
It was in US.
Tell us a little bit about, because it was among one of your first...
I have to say Jackson Wild was a turning spot for me. At that time, I was actually going to give up.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I was actually sitting with my dad and we were having this conversation and he was telling me, you went to the US, you just stayed there. I was like, no.
you need to come back.
And then I told him, I was joking in the morning telling him that by today you'll actually, but I'm going to the US soon, so just be patient.
Yes.
By the time evening was arriving, I got this amazing email from Jackson Wild to be one of the scholars for the film festival. And that is when I was like, wow. And the support I got from people to be able just to attend this festival was really enormous. Coming from a conservation space, and I have to mention like WWF US, which I'm an alumni of a couple of programs, was able to support me get my tickets and stuff. And then locally there is an amazing group, an amazing couple. They're called Kampur Diaries, Purvi and Kamal, and they they literally paid for my visa to be able to get to the US. So that particular first trip was really a
it's a
turning.
huge milestone.
It was one of the
big stepping stone.
Yeah. I used to do photography, and then that is when I actually went for the first time and met International League of Conservation Photographers, because they had like a workshop before the main Jackson.
So you got a
Festival.
chance to hang out with the big boys, the big guys, if I may say.
Like the guys I was seeing the images, like wow, this is, and it was interesting how, because you can imagine when I flew into Jackson Hole, and then they had like an evening meetup in the evening. I found myself the only black person in that room, and it was scary. Like it was a bit scary, but at the same time, you're like,
it was also a realization
that the spaces is so much not really occupied, which I don't necessarily have to worry about where you come from and everything, because conservation photography, it cuts across every person
across the globe.
It's just it's not an easier career to get into. There's a lot of sacrifices you have to make. So now sitting on that chair, and I could see these amazing images from individuals like Jane Goodall, Jenny Saldesh from India, and I'll see these images of how they're doing the images. Like it was just not just about pictures. It was documentary style. It had a journalistic approach.
Okay.
And then they had like an impact. Like they had to like, how do you even like work towards supporting conservation?
Yes.
And that is why I realized just taking pictures of wildlife is not conservation photography. You have to go way beyond. Tell the stories of the people working in conservation. The support that comes from there, the scientists, the vets, the community members, the rangers.
It's a whole solar system of different activities.
Yes.
I'm a bit curious. Let me just pick it from, there's that, kuna picha ulipigwa na hiyo kamera kali. So at that stage, were you going there for technical skills? The primary objective of your travels, were you going for technical skills, or was it a combination of activities? Like, technically speaking, program ilikuwa aje? Ulikuwa umeenda tu utalii, ulikuwa umeenda kufundishwa kutumia makamera kali, ulikuwa umeenda seminar, workshops za storytelling. Exactly what was it? So
being a Jackson Wild scholar basically meant that I was just going to see what really goes on. There was not necessarily any training or nothing, but it was basically to be able to interact with the industry as a whole, because Jackson Wild is more of like the Oscars of wildlife filming.
Okay. Yeah.
But then in that particular space, there are photographers, there are filmmakers, there are different levels of content creators in the wildlife space.
Yes.
And trust me, when I went there, again, it was a bit scary, because you can imagine in a room of almost about, give or take, more than 4,000 people in a room, and it's
and you're just standing out there with your skin color.
Yes, now skin color is something that but I think at that time, right now as I'm speaking, that has really changed. Because there's so many other
space has
really opened up.
That connects us to your next yet another one. So, Emerging League of International Conservation Photographers. Because that was when we first interacted with them, like face to face.
Yes, so that's when I interacted with them face to face.
And then later on,
and then yeah. So then later on, interestingly, it's very interesting. ILCP is a very tight up institution, in the sense that it requires excellence.
Okay.
It even joining as an emerging league, what you require is a portfolio of 20 images. But quite some a heavy portfolio of 20 images.
Powerful,
and a photo story of about 10 to 15 images. Okay. And the reason why you actually want to join ILCP. And then the other part is you have to get a recommendation from somebody within ILCP who knows your work.
Okay.
So for me, just having
you cannot just come in as an outsider with amazing work.
No, you
lazima watu ndani pia walikuwa.
Yeah, so there are somebody from inside who can recommend you. So when I went to Jackson Hole, I met a couple of fellows who were there.
Okay.
And And that is how I got to meet in person. And I showed them my work and I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. But it took me another 1 year to actually apply and join.
For you too. For somebody who doesn't understand, one of the things I have noticed in our community, like Kama photographers, in the Photographers Association, there is a small group of people who are really aspiring to get to where you are and maybe beyond, conservation space and all that. I'm sure you've seen them trying to do things here and there. And for people who may be curious, exactly what does it mean for your career to be recognized as in the Emerging League of International Conservation Photographers? What weight does it hold? What would you compare it? Like the way you said the other one, Oscars there, wildlife conservation.
What it does is that ILCP allows you to image licensing. And I think I'll mention one of my images actually bought with ILCP, with IUCN through ILCP. So even if I don't have like continuous work, my images are I can still license my images under ILCP. And ILCP can be able to sell my images on my behalf, but on the conservation topic. So I'm still supporting conservation beyond just the images I take. But most importantly is that particular community of learning and interaction that really brings that particular level of being able to join the community. And let's just be honest, communities are very, very important.
Very important.
Very, very important. And even locally, Photographers Association of Kenya was a very, very important community for me. A family to grow into.
Yes.
And I think for the ones who I met mostly and trying to figure out where do I go to next was really, really interesting. So this aspect of communities was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And in the photography space, in the Kenyan photography space, there was no conservation photographer.
No.
There was wildlife photographers.
Yes.
Which was good.
What is the difference?
Documentary photographers are there.
What's the difference?
There's a very big difference. I think one of the images that I'll show, probably I'll talk about is when you see an image of an elephant, it's beautiful. Just alone.
Yes.
But when you see an image of an elephant with a fisherman in front of it, just chilling and fishing and doing their own business, that's conservation photography. That's
something different. There are 5-10 stories all woven into
that
one
particular image.
Yes.
So wildlife is mainly beauty and just raising awareness.
The aesthetic side.
The aesthetic side of photography. But when you go into conservation photography, as I mentioned earlier, you talk about journalistic. So you combine different facets of storytelling. Yes. Journalistic style, documentary style, and then also impact. Okay. Cecilia, for example, I'm mentioning a few photographers like Moav. Moav is so good at documentary.
Yes.
That is a skill that if you have and you combine it with some bit of journalistic style like Thomas Mkoya or Brian Otieno,
or Revan Sogeto.
Yes, so that really builds. And then you bring it in with some impact. So for me, from the impact side, coming from the science side, was like a plus.
Okay.
So when I look at an image, I'm like, how can this image be used? And how can it be
to convey
the message that talks about conservation? So that's purely the difference between wildlife and conservation photography. Yeah.
Tony, this story of conservation, again, there are a lot of us who have been in that space. I was lucky to interact a lot with it when we were doing the wildlife census in 2021, I guess. But then there are many people I'm sure, who are watching. First of all, you've broken it down for them, wildlife photography, and then when you come into conservation. But generally in conservation, when you're doing your content, your pictures, your film, your articles, what are some of the key issues that you have to deal with? Like maybe you can give us 4, 5, 6 that at any one time, they ziko kwa surface haziwezi enda. Themes, issues, topics.
Again, even in conservation photography, you can actually specialize just to be a specialist for just one particular species, like one animal. And that's what you're known for.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, like that guy for the elephants.
Yes.
What's his name? Yes.
So
elephant man, yes.
You can just...
He just focuses on elephants and tusks.
And then you just change it and you just change. And you see, you can do topics like wildlife trafficking. You can do topics like... rangers rehabilitation of sites. Like I'm a fan of rangers. Like if you see most of my work, it's mostly rangers and people.
They're always there. Yeah, next to the wildlife.
Yes. So and then community interaction with wildlife. I'm really getting into that space of of being able to tell the story from the heart. You know, if you tell the story from the heart, everyone is able to connect with it.
Yes.
Because one of the things I've learned over time is that if you want to really get into people's minds, you tell them a story and you get into their humanize the story to be able to help. So conservation photography is so broad. I know when somebody talks about conservation in Kenya, the first thing they'll think is about an elephant.
Yes.
So let me try and break it down. So conservation,
even the caregivers, they value the elephants. Yes. Don't joke with the elephants.
Yes. So for me, the way I define wildlife is both plants, animals,
even in the water,
both in water, on land. So that is all wildlife. The fish, the insects, the butterfly. I actually make fun of even the mosquito is actually part of wildlife.
Oh yes, then I remember the time you were very happy about Mufadal's fishes, you know.
Yes. So you can imagine this kind of stories.
Like he just focuses on fish, and especially in unknown rivers.
Yeah,
and stuff.
So you can imagine somebody doing work of fishing in the Masai Mara.
Yes.
Now that is now it's science, but then you need to figure out how do you photograph it in a documentary way and a journalistic way to tell his story of the work he does, where the world can actually connect. So it's really interesting when you look at photography, conservation photography specifically, is that it doesn't end with the image. The business goes beyond the image. Before and after. Because even right now, I think I get commissioned for images even that I shot in 2020.
Yes.
2019.
Or even before, yeah.
One crazy image, I have to say, even right now I'm still baffled with it. When one of the magazines bought it for a cover, was an image of a draft. You see the draft that people play?
Yes.
Yeah?
So, how is that now?
Like, trust me, it was just written Arabuko Sokoke with the drafts of white and blue.
Yes.
And I just took a picture of it from above. And when the Nile approached me for this particular image, they were very specific in the theme, that they were like, looking for an image that
because of Arabuko Sokoke, the forest.
The forest.
Yes. And it's one of the few
forests on the coastal, one of the tropical line. Forests on the coastal side. But then they didn't want to show the forest.
Yes, but there are people involved in that.
Yes, so
the life of that forest.
Yeah, there are people involved. But then these were rangers playing draft, and I didn't even shoot their hands or anything. Just the draft alone.
Yes,
with the word Arabuko Sokoke, and then with that now you can able to see, because there was like after COVID, people had to change the way they're playing their game.
Yes.
And when you've played draft before, what is draft name in Kiswahili? I'm forgetting its name. It's still draft, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's still draft. Yes. So you can imagine when
you have humanized.
So now So now you're able to and that's just an image. And when they bought it, I was like, wait, you guys just want this image. So when I went back to it, when they sent me the link, I was like, really? I thought you just had a bigger, awesome image like you want.
Yes. And drone shots of the forest.
Or something more. But then when I realized that storytelling using photography is that you don't leave out anything. You take pictures as, like, I think one of my mentors was like, Tony, if you get a chance to shoot 1,000 images a day.
Wow.
And don't stop. And that is the mantra I've been running with. Like, if I get a project, I shoot.
You just shoot and shoot.
I shoot.
Yes.
But then, and then I met Sushil, who will make now the thing much more complicated. Like, Tony, before you shoot, you need to figure out the viewfinder. What picture do you want to really tell?
Yes.
And you see, when you're in a community, you get this.
There are different perspectives, but there are arguments for each of them.
And you're like, wow, this is powerful. So there's this amazing person telling me to shoot 1,000 images. And then Sushil telling me, think before you shoot.
Click, yes.
So you can imagine spending a whole day and you need to shoot 1,000 images.
Yes.
Tell me how
you have
much
to
you're
think.
thinking.
Yes.
It's not easy, but it's fun. When you're enjoying this particular process, trust me, if you give me a camera right now, it's just like part of my body. Like, I'll just sink and just be like 1, 2, 3. And the process becomes interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's shift the gears a little bit. and go to your, maybe we start, just look at some of your most iconic pictures. And the way you said in storytelling, some of these pictures just look a little bit simplistic. From kwanza sisi tunapenda photography kali, but no, do we start here? Or yes,
we can start from
yes. Just looking at some of your work, and I think some of them I have started seeing them from way back. This is not all Bolosat, is it? No,
so that's Lake Bogoria.
Where?
Lake Bogoria.
Oh, Lake Bogoria. Yeah. Okay. So haya tuchambue sasa.
It's I was watching one of my films the other day, and I just learned a new way of doing filming. I technically was butchering my own film.
Oh,
like really critiquing it.
Yes,
to the core. I think for me that was learning. So when I look at these images right now, I'm just like, they're just taking me back to realizing how it was just wonderful to start. That drive, that energy. And I think at that time, Lake Bogoria is known of, like Lake Bogoria, you can see up to about 119 species of bird in 1 hour, give or take. It's one of the famous bird sites. I'm a lover of birds, and always be a lover of birds. So when I went there, it was one early morning, and that particular image was just a reflection of the trees. It had no meaning, but I was just trying to put into practice what I learned in the photography.
Can you remember which year this was?
Yes, I can remember the year. So this was around 2016. Actually, when I was actually doing when I was still starting up.
Okay.
And then interesting about this image, there was an amazing gentleman called Rahim who was really good at doing edits with Photoshop.
Yes,
and like Rahim Kara. And I had no idea what I was doing with Photoshop. So I reached out to Rahim to really show me the other aspect.
Tony, mbona tuko na paka kwa conservation?
So everyone knows about rabies. Rabies, cats and dogs.
Yes.
They're carriers of the rabies, and one of the things that they affect wildlife, cheetah, wild dogs.
So they can
really transmit.
Yeah.
So when you get a community that is living with such type of wildlife, when you do vaccines for dogs and cats on rabies, it just reduces the rate of affecting the rabies vaccination.
Where was this?
So this was in Samburu, during one of the rabies vaccines done by Action for Cheetahs Kenya. And it was interesting because they were mostly dogs, but then I saw a cat. I was like, this is a different story. So I went, and I'm a lover of cats. So I was like, let me get the cat moving out.
Okay, here are your birds. Haka kapicha unakapenda sana. I know. I don't know if the three are related, but you can just tell us about. So
the one for the birds in the hand is every year birds from Europe fly down to Africa, and there's a route that they have.
Yes.
So what the scientists do is that if you've been to a biological class, there's the capture method. Birds that will come back with a tag or a ring on their their tag. So it's always an annual event, and I had a chance to hang out with these amazing ringers. We call them ringers, or bird ringers, and kwa mguu. So you can imagine, and it's in Ngulia, and the birds use Ngulia
in Savo
as one of the routes. And this was just me trying to, how do I build a story? How do I build a conservation story? So I was trying out different aspects, working with scientists, working with conservationists, visiting their sites of work to be able to build my style and build a portfolio.
Okay.
And in that particular image, the bird was just being released.
Wait, is bird in a katoto ama that's its size?
That's its size. So it was just being released off the hand of a gentleman called Chesire. Yeah.
Interesting. The water bird?
So the waterbird is connected with my another long-term story in Uganda. So Uganda is a very special place to me and always will be for my photography career. I think when I was starting up, no offense, Kenyans, but everybody was just telling me, oh, you know your budgets. We don't have budgets. It's good you're doing that. But then this organization in Uganda really embraced the whole idea. And I decided, you know what, let me just go stay there. So I stayed there, and I was...
So which part of Uganda?
It was in Gamba Island, some island 2 hours in between Lake Victoria.
Lake Victoria too.
And it's a sanctuary for chimpanzees, about 50 chimpanzees at the
I
moment.
think I remember that time you traveled. Yeah.
So I spent almost a month, 2-3 months there, and I'll just wake up to the sounds of chimps and people working with chimps. And that's when and that place is a bird's island. Like you see birds and water birds from left, right, and center. So practicing my photography skills, like the shutter speed, just trying to be part and parcel of your camera.
Yes.
And this really helped to personify the story.
Is this the same place for the chimps?
Yes, that's the same place.
This is where you are?
Yes.
And you have this some very, let me call them intimate, crazy close-ups of these things. Ni kama only fall in love nazo, I think.
When you talk about primates, chimps, gorillas, bonobos, trust me, I'll be on my feet, running.
Because I've seen, you've really gotten some. Ili mtoto ama both of them.
So those are hands. You see, when you're doing photography, photography is so special in the sense that you can use light, texture, contrast. Like there's so much.
Anything, so much that you can use.
Sometimes when people think about an image, you need picture too. See picture too. There's a lot that comes into an image.
Lakini sasa hii Tony, hii mikono, tell us, what's the story with the hands?
So with the hands, like you can imagine when someone has like a feeling of a scratch somewhere, you'll be able to like in your hand when you're you feel like scratching.
Yes.
So you can imagine the chimp having that feeling, and it's just something that you can just see.
Okay.
And you see when you're doing photography, don't just focus on wide shots. Detail shots tell the story even better. Close-ups, wide, the eyes, like different shots.
So
really
between these two, even just my own curiosity, like this one, can you remember, are these two different animals? Are they young, old, juvenile? What?
Pretty much. So the other one is
the close-up.
The other one was the boss of the group of the chimps at that particular time.
Who's the boss?
That was the boss, but I'm pretty sure right now he's been overthrown or something. But then the other one probably was just one of the female chimps just hanging out around.
Okay.
When chimps don't have much, all they do is just pretty grooming, checking out each other, removing ticks and stuff.
And here, of course, as you said, the people who take care of the wildlife, you always have a special place for them. Okay. Yeah. So this place, just tell us a little bit about this place in that island in UG. They have like how many chimps? Is what do you call it? Like a sanctuary?
It's a sanctuary. So these chimps are actually chimps that have been brought in from illegal wildlife trade or pets. So there are chimps from Moscow, there are chimps from DRC, there are chimps from different parts of the world that are actually there. And there's it's so interesting when you read the stories of these chimps.
Yes.
It has for me it was like a personal healing. For me, I call that island my healing spot.
Okay.
Because these chimps are from different parts of the world.
Each chimp can be a book.
Each chimp is just different. Some were doing like crazy circus shows. Others
could but do they eat these things, Uko?
There's some that actually in Uganda
could have been destined
for food. So you can imagine that. And even me personally, I was going through a lot that particular period. So being in that particular island was healing for me.
Okay.
I was just like one of the chimps coming to hang out and chill.
You are what percent chimp?
98%.
98%.
Yes.
Lakini najua tuambia poa, lakini sawa. Okay, let's so solar.
Yeah, climate change is real, man. And there are very many ways of mitigating climate change. And there are areas where there is no pure electricity and livelihood and stuff. So solar energy plays a key important role.
Okay.
And we look at the conservation space. We're telling a story about chimps, telling stories about conservation. There are people that live with this wildlife on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
And to be able to uplift their livelihoods, there are projects that are there to really amplify and give, not necessarily give the best. Even recently, it's really interesting that recently the president of Botswana wanted to send 20,000 elephants in Germany. I saw that story the other day. Yes. I was like, yeah, you can imagine 20,000 elephants in Germany. It would be chaotic.
But it means they have a lot of. They have many in Botswana. Yeah?
They have a lot of. So living with wildlife is not easy.
Where are they going to survive in Germany? Climate.
They can't. But you see, when for me, when I see an African leader say that particular comment, it means he understands the beauty of staying with wildlife.
Okay.
And the non-beauty part of staying with wildlife. There's a lot of sacrifice that has to come.
Can be made, yeah.
Yeah. And I think such countries need a lot of support, need a lot of funding to be able to just be able to build up. And that is why being a conservation photographer is actually key.
Because you're the guys who tell the stories.
Yes.
And bring things to the mainstream.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I have known that you have one of the programs, and maybe this is the right time now to start telling us about now the establishment of Tony Wild, just for people who don't know what it does, because I can see here now we've got primary school kids, and I can also see something that looks like just general public.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this could be part of one of the projects under Tony Wild. Hiyo ni nini juu decide kujiita?
So I don't know how to put it. So when you hang out with people, you really learn a lot. So let me tell you a bit story about how this thing came was. So I think just after high school, I applied for a job here in Nairobi, and I thought it was this lucrative job you can go work. But I didn't know they were recruiting for insurance individuals. So they went in and took us through like a dream board, how to make your dream board and stuff. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I made like a nice dream board. So it allowed me to really think about what do I really want in future for me as myself and moving forward. And then one of the things I wrote in my dream board was I really wanted to start an environmental education organization that will allow younger people to be able to be in parks. And that's where now, like the passion for environmental education was really now becoming much more stronger and stronger.
I see that was at the heart of when you were starting.
Now that, even right now, that is still the heart of my
you may have taken many different paths.
Yes.
But unajua hapo kwa education, the knowledge and all that
happened. That is where my heart is.
Okay.
Photography, to some extent, I say it wasn't in my plan in 2012. When I was reviewing my plan in 2012, it was not in my plan.
But it's an important cog in the whole system.
So it was coming.
Because if anything, even these people you're teaching, they have to learn this skill so that they can be able to document and tell their own stories.
Because you can imagine if somebody's staying next to the park and I've never gone to a park.
So are you telling us education about conservation is one of the main reasons why you established
Tony Wild? Tony Wild was actually, that was more of like a legacy project for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I think we have a lot of pictures here, but then this is one of my personal favorites. And I know there's a series in this, and I'm sure we were going to put it in the edit. It was quite an early, one of the early bodies of work. Yeah. Just tell us about it. Of course, we know our river is pretty clean. And
again, when we're talking about conservation photography, it's not just about wildlife. It's about rivers, forests, soils.
Yes.
It's just about everything about nature, but more documentary, journalistic, and building up the impact. So there's this amazing group of people in Dandora who are actually rehabilitating Nairobi River. And when I was invited by a friend of mine called Sam Dindi, who's a long-time friend from campus, Anthony, you need to come and take pictures of these guys. I'm like, okay, let me just...
Does it run a project like even up to today? Or
so the project is still there running, and they have sprouted into other parts of the Nairobi River.
Okay.
And even contribute to the Nairobi River Commission that was lastly established.
So you guys now went down there to
just take pictures and document it. And when we were there, you could feel how that river looks like. Yes. And I was like, how do I bring that river in a beautiful way that does not make someone say ew or sitaki kuangalia hiyo picha tena.
Yes.
So combining it with the blue sky, with a nice blue sky. So you look at the image
contrast there, right?
Where you use the contrast of the blue sky, and you come down and you're like, oh, there's even a dog line that is dead in the river, and that's when you realize we actually need to do something.
You have a problem.
So it's like a line of beauty. If you look at the image, it's like a line of beauty between what the skies give us, the nice blue.
And I remember there is even a set of some kids,
so there is, so there is, and you can imagine the interaction. And that's why people and wildlife for me are like one,
and nature
are one thing. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's look at two projects that I think tell us about the rangers and the rhinos. How what's it? I think, was this a lady?
Oh, that's a gentleman.
So someone, okay. Yeah. But here I remember, tell us about this, the rhinos and the yeah.
So again, when you talk about community, and this is where now I'll mention ILCP coming into play. Mm-hmm. It was during COVID, and I get this email that you've been selected amongst 3 other photographers to document the lifestyle of rangers across Africa.
Okay.
So
across Africa?
Across Africa. But then I was specializing in Kenya alone, so I had to choose my sites. And when I looked at the combination of the photographers I was put with, they were purely ILCP. So it was an ILCP project business, which is really amazing because mimi sijaipata milioni moja, but hiyo ni milioni moja ya kwanza nilipata. And I can remember that is when I transitioned from a 70D to an ESR body.
Okay. Wow.
So when I saw the email, I was just like, wow, is this really real or is this
my dream?
But I was just like, because if I tell someone I used to shoot in a nightclub in Nyanyuki at 500 bob at night, they won't necessarily resonate with me right now. But then when you look at that particular process of journey and you're looking, for me, it's not just about, it's like, you can actually make money out of this passion you're actually doing. Yes. And that's when I started appreciating the business side of conserving photography.
Okay.
So, and I'll be honest, as much as I love conservation, I love photography, I have to pay my bills.
Yes.
I have to.
No, you can't do it when there's no money in your pocket.
Yeah, I have to figure out a couple of things. And for me, the most humbling and experience that I ever had is working with rangers. Okay. I thought I was passionate about conservation. Man, those people are way, way passionate about conservation than I am.
Yeah. If there is no passion, pengine utachoka haraka.
Utachoka. From the amazing women and gentlemen in Reteti, in Meru, the rangers in KWS and the rest, those people are so resilient. And for me, that is what I took from that assignment. Okay. Resilience. Being able to hold on to whatever you do.
Sometimes I think, for instance, you just see rangers and you just think, say tu ameamka tu kwenda kazi.
No, pana. I can expect they have fun. I have to say they have fun, but at the same time there's so much. As in, I had a chance to hang out with rangers who were doing the rhino patrol. How they did the security, man, was special. But this is where the special part is. I love food. So when they opened their because you can just see them with bags that you think they don't have food in their car. But
yes.
However, like when I opened the
kebab,
well, those people have enough. Like but you have to eat.
Yeah.
because there's an image I took of how they sleep, but I can't share much about that. But then
there is a level of sacrifice.
There's a level of sacrifice. There is
commitment.
The sleeping pattern is comfortable and everything else. Like there's no limitation. But then that lifestyle is something that somebody in the city will not resonate. And I can imagine if Nairobians can just, or every other city can just come together for rangers for even a day and just help out ranger work. Like even, I don't know, but just if you have a ranger brother, ranger, because they're relatives, they're all friends. They're all working hard to pay bills just as we're working out in Nairobi to pay bills.
They need to be appreciated for the work that they do, going an extra mile to conserve.
So when I was doing this project, that was the main goal.
Okay.
To amplify the
I love this drone shot, by the way. I think was this mangroves or what was it? This was there's this body of work for.
Yes, so this body of work, again, conservative photography, you have to think about a body of work. Yes. It's not just one image.
I think even in international competitions, even when you are doing PK awards,
yes,
there is the one photo and there's a series.
Yes.
So that body of work part is very,
very, very important. So when I was doing these mangrove stories in 2021, just COVID era, and that image of the drone shot from above was actually directed by a friend of mine who's a driver called Courier. And I was like, Tony, ask him, can this drone really go? Can it face down? Like, follow me. And when I followed him, I saw this reflection of the sky on the ocean, and it just completed.
That's the shot.
I have actually a video for that separately.
Yes, I think on the film.
It's in the film, yeah. So it was so beautiful. But this particular series has not only just enabled me to appreciate my role as a conserving photography, but also has amplified different types of stories that have come out of it. Because right now, from that mangrove story, I've got into now in depth into ocean and trying to figure out how best do I tell ocean stories. Yeah.
Okay, and I think we're gonna come back to the oceans.
Yeah.
There is this one also. Ulikuwa unafanya nini back nyumbani kwa ushago kwenu na masamaki?
You know, when people think about conservation, they just think it's about wildlife. No, there's a lot that comes to play. So during COVID, during COVID period I was trying to look for stories within because we were not allowed to move much.
Yes.
And then I noticed something special with what happens in my own village.
That's in
Rusinga Island.
Rusinga Island.
Yes. I know pretty much all Kenyans have eaten omena, pretty much all. But some will say the eyes. Yeah. But when you think about how omena is fished, they use lights. So the fish is attached to the light, and then the fisherman can now be able to capture the fish. But then over time, I saw these awesome yellow lights on the lake changing into white. And upon asking more information, it's my own people. People hang out with my uncles and my brothers, and they're like, there's this solar thing that they're actually implementing within the particular space. And I'm like, there we go. That's a story.
Yes. Okay.
So how do you tell a climate change story? Yeah. The most interesting part is that you're telling a story within your community. And in every particular story when you tell, I had to hire my uncle as a fixer. So it's not just about, as much as a photographer coming from that particular community.
It was also very close.
It was close, but I had to also do it professionally.
Yeah.
So I had to hire my uncle as a fixer.
Yes.
Pay him.
Yes. Mlikuwa kazi.
Tulikuwa kazi.
Yes.
And even at the end of that assignment, what is special about this assignment was I actually had the first solo exhibition of this assignment. That was, I think, my first solo exhibition. But with my community.
Yes, it's the one that you went to do back in your Shago. Yeah.
So you can imagine that.
Yes, it could have been so near, but it's also so far.
Yeah. But they connected with the story. They know the story. They talked about it, and there's even a video that we did, like a reel about that particular story.
Yes.
So conservative photography does not end about you taking the image as a photographer and just going with it. It's you figuring it out. How do I now use it to support that particular cause.
I think I had you mention, and this is important even for guys who are watching and they want to take stories into a deeper level. It's still close to documentary kind of work because it's storytelling. I have heard you mention, like you could have just visited a place once, taken a few pictures, and maybe you had to go back over time, document long projects, have a much larger body of work, bigger exhibition, a photo book. How impactful is it, other than just taking pictures and posting them just on social media with one paragraph caption? How important is it to have that broader view of a project where you can have an exhibition, you can have photo books, you can have films, you can have maybe other supporting content? How important is it, especially for guys who want to get into storytelling, not just for conservation, could be even for other kind of stories?
I think when you do multimedia approach of storytelling, it just builds up your audience. And it builds up on what cause you're actually building. Because not everybody has the time to look at a film. But they have time to look at a film, at a set of images.
Yes.
Not everybody has the time to go through, listen to audio or the podcast people, but they are good with writing. So when you do storytelling with a multimedia approach, you're able to now build up that intensity. And I'll probably throw in a secret for a bit of a business perspective, is the sense that if you approach storytelling from multimedia approach, you create a lifetime content that you can able to either be commissioned, or they cannot be a portfolio, but you can still be able to be able to share them out across board. And I'll give an instant of the one for like the Forest Guardian is a story that is spouting from a photo story of chimps, and that's when I met the amazing character in the Forest Guardian.
Yes.
If you look at the story for the climate change story within my local community, is now 1 year I was able to do a community exhibition. And then the exhibition was not just done in Kenya, it was done in Egypt. Last year I did another in Benin.
Yes.
And this is just one story from my local community. Yes. And there's always a lot of local conservation stories. You just need to look.
You want to go and tell.
Yeah.
I remember the Nile exhibition.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I'm able to see here. There's one picture here that is very powerful, Tony. And I think hii picha ilisambaza sana. This picture.
So that picture was actually part of the series of the Rangers Lifestyle.
Okay.
That was commissioned by...
This one for the elephant?
For the elephant. And for the game, for the Game Rangers Association of Africa. So when I was commissioned for that job, it was part of that particular series.
Yeah, I think this picture has amazing emotion on it. Like, the day I saw it, I was just like... This is just it's classic, It
was beautiful.
It's a beautiful picture. Okay, as we get to close, I think documenting of projects. Hii project ni uchokozi tu, lakini hii nyasi ni nini mnachimba hutu tu vitu. Hebu tell us about it. And how long is this project? It's Amboseli?
It's Amboseli in other parts of the country, right now, actually across Africa. So landscapes. So wajua mtu akiongea kuhusu nyasi, kitu ya kwanza utafikiria ni ng'ombe na mbuzi zako.
Yes.
But grass has a lot. Grass has a lot of like kuna vitu nyingi sana, from water retention, from reducing soil erosion.
Its relevance in ecosystem is like the way we say about bees, or something, and the way they indicate a lot of things.
Yes.
So the role of grass too
it's very, very important. Ndio ng'ombe inakula, ndio wildlife inakula. So you can imagine the insects stay there, and they have different types of grasses. So you can imagine when a landscape is totally degraded, like hakuna nyasi kabisa.
Saa zile unaenda unakuta tu bare soil. Yes, some stories of erosion nini
yote like pull up, and then unapata. So when you go to, when I was doing this project at the beginning, I was like, you guys are just digging semicircular holes and hoping that when it rains, the rain will stop, and then you plant grass on it, and then it grows. But now this is where my science now comes into play.
Yes.
And when I asked the people in the project, and I asked them, okay, so now you want to tell me after digging these holes, you digging these or some bands, and then plant the grass when it rains, it actually sprouts. So I was doubting Thomas before I actually got the assignment, but I was doubting from a scientific. I was questioning from a science point.
Okay, from the science that you knew at that time.
Yeah, that time, which I was like, unajua, like ukienda kwa shamba saizi ulime. Kuna wale mimea watagrow faster.
Yes.
More like the weeds.
Yes. Those ones,
because you've just opened up.
Even the,
yes. So I was asking, you're opening this soil.
Yes.
And you're making it more conducive for growth. So you want to tell me the grass will compete with the weeds? And the answer I got at that particular time from the amazing friend of mine was like, they're still doing research on that. There are people who are doing research on that. But then 1 year later, they reached out to me and tell me, hey, do you want to get part into the project? Like, it's okay. I'll try out. And that's when the journey began. And that was in 2021.
Yes.
And I went to start shooting grass. And not just grass. Grass.
That sounds a bit pretty boring, Tony.
It is. So I'll take you through the process. So it's a type of photography called fixed point photography. So fixed point photography is used for monitoring scientific ecosystem restoration on a scientific level.
Processes.
Yeah. So kuna kitu inaitwa GPS. It is a tool that you can map or locate where you are. So you go, pick the point, stand there. The same lens that you used is the same lens you will use for the next 4 or 5 years. So when you go there, you take a picture, and then if you go to that place and take a picture of the grass, there's no grass. Then you go to the same place after the intervention is done, and the grass has developed. So if you look at the images over time, you can
see progression.
In short, for a photography language, it's like a time lapse, but now a longer period time lapse.
Okay.
And it was so beautiful for me because it was not just about the grass. It was just about the wildlife, the people, and these amazing relationships.
And all the things that it's supporting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to check. I'm looking for, but the elephant photo, that photo is stunning.
Yeah.
The elephant in the water and the boat. And you've got this imposing picture of the elephant. Tell us about that picture. In as much as I know there is a little bit of compression on, but surely, that is what we're talking about, coexistence? Tell us about that picture.
It's technically called passive coexistence. Unaile like, sijui nitumie hii, but bibi na bwana wakishazoeana sana kuna venye tu. Hiyo ni space yake, ni space yangu.
Okay.
Ilo washazoeana unajua tu like by the way kombe yake usishike.
Pale inawekangwa inakaa hapo.
Usishike. So that is how this amazing community in Lake Jipe. Lake Jipe is in the south.
A little bit in South. Is it in Kenya also? A little bit? It's
a transboundary. Transboundary meaning it is shared between Tanzania and Kenya.
That was Lake Jipe. I've been there. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So you can imagine a community just hanging out with elephants.
Oh, they live on the shores.
Yeah, but
the elephants come to.
The elephants come to chill out.
Yes.
They'll actually say like Lake Jipe is like an 8 to 5 job for both the elephants and the people.
Just like Amboseli.
Yeah, like an 8 to 5. So
they see them during the day?
No, this is different. In the morning, the elephants move from Savo, the park, they walk.
From Savo? Oh, yeah, because
8 in the morning.
Yes.
As everybody wakes up in the morning, they're also waking up preparing to go to the lake.
Yes, to go get water.
To eat,
cool down, to eat also, to eat on the marshes, on the shores.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And even the fishermen in Lake Jipe,
they also have to fish. So what wanaenda kwa hapo, just the area around the lake is a fertile place for.
Yeah, so there's a, I don't want to go into the detail of the science, but there's a reed that has grown around the lake, and the lake is actually under threat, and that is the story I'm working on right now as a film. So I did a photo story before, which is published in Capital FM with Save the Elephants, but then right now I'm doing a film regarding the same scenario.
On the same story, yeah.
And I'm doing it together with the Nature Environmental Wildlife Filmmakers,
okay,
and also with the African Wildlife Foundation. So it's a combination of of different conservation partners. And that is what conservation photography is. You're not just the photographer. You have to work with a scientist and a conservation partner at some point.
Now, for guys who are watching, whether for conservation or other kind of storytelling, how much do you have to understand? How deep, how much research, Googling, how relevant is it? Because sometimes I have seen people who go to undertake projects and you've not even taken time to understand. Like kama tunaenda kupiga picha ndovu, una understand behavior ya ndovu. Uliona ile picha ya juzi, video watu wakiinuliwa na gari ya ndovu. Their tourist vehicle. Yeah. How important is it for research, background research, getting information for content creators, especially who want to get into deeper subject matter, like in this case of conservation?
Research is key. I think I didn't mention earlier that one of the courses I did, which was very, very intentional, was conservation photography with visual storytelling. How do I put it? I think I'm going to repeat that a bit. So one of the things I think with Jamie Heimbach. So Jamie Heimbach is a tutor on conservation photography. And when I was looking for, just again, it's for me, it's really like growth. Just as the way I was looking to learn photography as a skill set, I looked for courses that will help me build my skill in conservation photography. So I looked for a course that I did in conservation photography, and you guys can actually check up on it. And when I did this particular course, it allowed me to understand that it's not actually going to the field to take pictures that is the work. It is the research you do before you go to the field.
But the time you come to click,
yes, you've done enough research. Because there's a lot of techniques you can use to do the story in terms of photography. So if you don't know the animal behavior, if you don't know the people, you don't have links, you don't have the science. So there's a lot of things that you need to happen. You have to happen. For those who are in film industry, there's something called the research. So also in conservation photography, you have to sit down and do research. You have to know who's your character, who's the context, or where you're shooting. What is the call to action? What is the conflict? Like these key storytelling aspects that you need to understand before you actually be able to tell the story. Like you need
before
to
you move to
ground, you need to be able to understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know time is much gone. We just have a few minutes left. We are way past the hour mark, but I know you have a lot of things that you can share. But as we get to the close, let's talk a bit about your films. I think there are two. And my question is, Forest Guardian. Of course, you have told us a little bit about it, but how was the experience like? And even if you're not involved in I don't know if you're involved in the shooting and the editing and all that, but then as a content creator very deep in your subject matter of conservation, how has filmmaking impacted the work? Has it made you reach new audiences? Has it made you get more impactful kind of responses? How relevant is the video part, the film part?
I think I'll still go back to one thing, the why. Okay. Why am I doing all this? And for me, why I'm doing all this is because I need to be able to educate people about conservation and tell them.
Yeah.
So depending on what media you want to use, and the one that I actually be able to do was films. So during one of like right now, everybody everywhere is planting trees. It's beautiful.
Many.
It's good planting trees. But the question is, how many are actually taking care of those trees?
Oh yeah. That question has been asked a million times. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, take pictures. Let's come back.
And then so that's the thing. And when I saw this, I was like, okay, this is not really right. But then I met this amazing, awesome human being, Sezi Mugisa. I think right now he's going to about 78 years old or something. This guy has planted a lot of trees to actually be a forest, to be home of about 60 chimpanzees.
Oh, okay.
Now that was the story.
Where is the forest?
The forest is in Western Uganda, between one of the major forests, Budongo, and I'm forgetting the other name, but it's in Uganda, in the western part of Uganda.
Okay.
And when I met Sezi will just talk about the forest. I've been into a forestry class.
Yes.
But trust me, Sezi was special.
Yes.
And he's never gone into a forestry class. So you can imagine that enough knowledge of indigenous knowledge that he had.
Yes.
Because he used to talk about his dad planting trees and stuff. So that was where the story is. And when people are planting trees all over, I felt that this film will be really helping. Will really be helping to tell people that it's not just about planting trees.
Yes.
It's about growing trees. So the film has like a lesson plan. So Tony Wilde Foundation, which is now the organization that uses the film now to teach kids
it's
about.
also part of now, the education program.
So again, the why. You need to think about when you're doing your photo stories or film, you need to think about where or why exactly are you going to be able to use those particular stories.
Okay.
And that's how the Forest Garden was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matumbawe?
Oh, Matumbawe.
This is special, eh?
Matumbawe is special. Actually, Matumbawe is corals, and corals are found in the ocean.
Oh, that's a Swahili word for coral.
So Matumbawe is the Swahili word for corals.
Finally, now we get to meet your Swahili side.
Yeah.
Finally, the Swahili teacher
is back.
Okay. Okay, so hebu tuambie kwanza these stories of underwater and because
you know when the first time I actually be able to, like the first time I visited Kisitu Mpungute, which is a national park, south coast of Kenya, and I was lucky enough I knew how to swim. And I think in a class of 40 people who were studying wildlife management, those who were able to just swim properly were like 3.
3?
Yes. So you can imagine, this is like swimming alone was just a barrier.
Yes.
For someone to access the beauty.
Yes. Because now
of the ocean.
And you see, you even learning swimming when you are grown up.
When you're grown up, it becomes difficult.
Learning how to swim in a swimming pool is one thing. But then in the ocean is another different thing. So when I dived there, I can remember I was with a gentleman called Anthony Ochieng and Charles Mudama. And they were just following me as I dived. Yes.
The colors of those beautiful corals and fishes remained in my heart like. And
I can tell you, every time I look at your work, Tony, and I see those blue colors, they just stand out. It's something different. Even like this one, it's amazing. So you guys were telling a story from, you said it's Kilifi?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to give a background how I got into the ocean space. And when we dived with my amazing classmates from Moi, and I saw these fishes with black and white, some with yellow, and I was like, this is totally beautiful. But when I took, because I was in the campus at that particular time, so when I left the ocean, I was just like, I felt like it was a far off reached space to get.
Unaweza tu ile iko hapa karibu.
Yes. But then 2 years ago, I really wanted to get into the ocean. So I reached out to an organization called Revolution. Again, conservation photography is about building collaborations with institutions. So I reached out to them. It's not the other way around. And reaching out to them, I told them, this is me. This is what I do.
Yes.
And I wanted to be able to
this kind of
part of work of that.
Yes.
So we don't wait for stories to come to you. Go look.
Sometimes unaenda kutafuta.
Unaweza kuzitafuta. But I was going there as a photographer.
Yeah.
And then I met these, again, rangers. Rangers are just going to be part of my heart for the rest of my life. But then I met this group of rangers who are reef rangers.
Yeah.
And these reef rangers, they dive and they're always just cleaning corals, planting corals.
That's an interesting title.
Restoring. They're reef rangers. So reef is the one that is on the coastal.
And it's the one that separates.
Yes, it separates now from the
shallow ocean.
Yeah. So
where guys go. And
now the deep, now the other side. Yeah. So when you look at the corals, they're beautiful. And with climate change, the corals are facing a lot of coral bleaching. And this coral is it's like a forest for the fish.
It's an underwater forest. And
again, coming from grasslands and forests, and then I'm finding another underwater forest. I'm like, beautiful.
You must have been in your dreams heaven that time.
So I had to learn how to dive. I had to learn how to be able to maintain my buoyancy underwater. And then I used to use a GoPro, but then I felt a GoPro is actually limiting my extent to what I really want to show the world. Because now again, as a conservative photographer, I have a responsibility. Because I can't call myself a conservative photographer, and I cannot be able to get information to my audience.
Yes.
So I had to invest into a whole underwater equipment set.
Yeah.
And again, collaboration is really amazing, because when I was looking for the housing to buy, I met people from Marilax who are now the housing gear. And when I told them my story, and they gave me a very, very nice percentage discount off.
Yes.
So when I was buying it, I was not buying it because it's a new product in the market.
Okay.
And when I was buying it, it was because I saw one of my other, again, ILCP, International League of Golf, comes to play.
Yes.
Because now you see what your counterparts are doing and what equipment they're using. So you learn from them and be able now to implement them. I think in Africa right now, we can even count the number of like photography, underwater conserving photography, who are actually black.
They are not that many.
There are few. And I'm just trying to break into that particular space.
Yes.
And be able just to take amazing images across board.
So as we head to a close again, it brings us to that question that people ask. And I'm sure a few of the guys watching, photographers, filmmakers, videographers, would like to know Tony's opinion. Is gear everything? Our best camera is the one you have in your hands, especially in your space. I've shot wildlife many times. Where does gear end and where does it not end? Where does it become important? Because by the way, I don't know, is this the brand or something?
Yeah, this is my Relax.
That brand. I remember watching the reel when you're unboxing, and I knew, hey, this one, Tony Wild is just in heaven right now with that name.
I was in heaven.
I wouldn't know what it means to you, to have that housing. But so how important, even not just for conservation, but in just general content creation, photos, film, design, because I know even yourself you do a little bit of graphic design. Ni muhimu vile.
Hey, that's a conversation. It's tough.
Bana, sema ukweli.
No, equipment is only important if you know how to use it. That's what I'll say. Equipment does not really make a difference if you don't know how to use it, because you can find somebody who has an R3 but never has a chance to shoot anything with it, or even have the skill to even shoot it.
Okay.
So there's a difference. When I talk about equipment, for me is get equipment that you can use for a lifetime. If you're a business person, think about an equipment that can give you the money value of your business.
For business, that's me right there.
Yeah. And I think that I learned from you. If you want to do prints, if you know that is your business for prints, like the large prints and stuff, think about the sensors you're using, and that's now you invest on that particular direction.
Yeah.
If you're going underwater, you won't put it on a polythene bag and drop it down, because you're burning a lot of money. So you need to think about, do I need to invest? So there's always that you need to negotiate with yourself.
But I see, like you, when you started, you're using a GoPro.
Yes. So and it was okay.
But you start there,
and then now when
you're capable,
you now move forward
and upgrade.
Yeah, because you can imagine like the underwater rig I have right now, it has like strobes and stuff. These strobes are not 2 shillings.
Okay.
And you need to go with them underwater. And the strobes, when you go underwater, the light
it reduces as you get deeper. Yes,
it gets more bluish, the colors disappear. So what the light does is
now brings the natural color that we are used
to seeing. So the strobes now, the light helps us get the light back.
I never thought about that, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I should rig that camera one day and just show you how it looks like. It's heavy.
Yeah.
But when you go into water,
it becomes.
Trust me, the first time I went to that camera, it was like I was shooting on land.
Yeah.
There was no difference in shooting on land, because I understood the diving part and I was comfortable underwater. And trust me, the compositions, the lighting, what is happening, like there's so much happening in the ocean.
At least one time, yes. This is a totally different world.
It's a beautiful one.
Any other animal on the surface has a similar animal
on underwater. So the corals are like the forest, and then there's the lions and stuff within.
Okay, so tell us one last question, Tony, because we need to wind up.
Okay.
Sasa hii kazi, hizi content unafanya film, picha, na wale watch wangependa kujua kuna do. You can tell us what you want to tell us, and that which you can't tell us, you don't have to tell us. But kuna pesa, na pesa itakuja kama ya weddings ama birthday party photography.
I think one of the first things I need to say is that there's no easy way of making money when it's any type of business.
There's no easy way.
Yeah. Business is just like any other business.
There's no free lunch.
Yeah.
You can't just do it like that.
You can't just do it like that. So there's the path of growth and there's the path of making mistakes. And as I'm sitting here, I've made a lot of financial mistakes. I've made a lot of personal relationship mistakes, especially regarding finances and stuff. And what I've came to learn is that you need to know your value as a photographer. So when you're charging or the clients you're working with can able to pay you properly.
Yes.
And once you know your value as a photographer, you can able to know to gauge your work and be able to charge properly. But then I think one of the things we get so difficult or tied across is that, and this I'm learning from my experience, is that the money is there.
The money is there.
It just depends on which door you're knocking.
Yes.
Or how you're knocking that particular
and how
door.
you're packaging yourself.
You're packaging yourself. So if you don't have a website as a photographer, who will actually find you?
If you don't have social media presence.
If you don't have a social media present, if you don't have a proper portfolio, if you're not in these communities, if you're not in PAK, if you're not in, if you're not in this wedding stuff, and if you're doing a wedding photography, hang out with wedding photographers.
Yes.
But trust me, I hanged out with wedding photographers.
Even if you're in conservation.
Even if I'm conservation. Because there's some things that wedding photographers will do that I'll definitely learn and come and bring back in. Because I want to do nice portraitures of my characters. Okay. So business is there. But then what I tell people is that, and I think this is the most difficult, it's the most difficult topic to talk about. When you're doing a passion project, especially passion project, you can end up without any single point. And like
unaisukuma tu juu ya passion,
unaisukuma tu, but then sometimes you have to look for these are the jobs that do not necessarily and not basically
you may not like,
yes,
but they're the ones that may support you as you pursue your
like I'm okay shooting baby bumps provided I can just find, but I won't charge. Like I love to figure out how best will I charge that baby bump depending on my time right now.
Yes.
Is it worth the time? Because that time you might be doing the baby bump for 5,000 shillings can be enough time for you to do a research.
Yes.
On a long-term project you actually do. So you have to weigh and balance. I know money is a factor, but then you have to weigh and balance and see. I can spend like you can look at a body of images. You've shot a wedding all day and you have to edit those particular images. It's time. So you need to start valuing time. And the effort you put and equipment.
Put in it, yes.
Put in it. And I think that business side is what most of us lack.
Which it's what we battle with.
Yes. Yeah.
So now, your programs may be about mentorship, schools. Do you have room? Maybe there are guys who are watching and they're like, maybe I would want to be part of the stuff that you're doing. Do you have that opening? Like, would you have guys join you? Would you have volunteers? Do you have people on apprenticeship kind of thing? Maybe there are guys who are just curious. They would want to come under your wings.
Wow.
ama nimekutumia kitu bado hauja prepare kufanya.
For a very long time, I've always wanted to help people grow. But then what I'm coming to learn is that in the process, I lose myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because I give it, because there's a value. If it's a volunteer or somebody, when you go with someone in the field, you have to pay their accommodation, you have to give them a stipend, you have to. So, and this is something that you probably might not even have.
Okay.
But you have to, there's nothing for free. We use these words, I'm volunteering, but it's not for free.
No, they are certain. There's a minimum cost to it.
There's a cost that if you're not paying for it, I will pay for it.
Okay.
And that's when our relationship becomes really key in that particular aspect.
Yes.
So for moving forward, I decided that all I'll be doing is, if you want my time, you have to pay for it.
Okay.
Like you have to at least nilipie tu stima.
Okay.
Niwakishe nyumba.
Yes.
At least of bare minimum. I really want to help.
Okay.
And it's no offense. And that is why other photographers are doing workshops, are doing tours specifically, just to be able to pay up their bills. So I'm happy to share information one-on-one. If you find me anywhere in the street and you want information,
okay,
I will give it to you.
And I think there is a portal where guys maybe is it still open or not?
Yeah, so we still I still have
where
like
you have to apply and you vet and see if your work is all
the time and everything else. And it's just about like
it's not easy. No, your space. I mean, I have seen you grow. It's from back in 2016 and now it's not been an easy journey. For you, I bet. And you've done your 10,000 hours. Now you can almost lean back and have it start reaping your benefits. Ya mwisho kabisa. So ndevu zimefanya nini? Alafu na hiyo African hata niliona umepiga picha nayo. Unataka kutushow? No. Ama it's a new rebranding.
So I think that is more of personality for me.
Okay.
Is that initially when you met me, I had like a whole ring of bands in my arm, and it became like more of like an identity.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So when I got rid of this, I was like, what are the new identities?
What next?
What next? So I decided to like do the nice beard thing, just for fun, not necessarily just because when your passion is your work. There's the way you become, everybody sees you like, hey, you're mtu ni serious. You do something that makes people like, hey, the devil by name and change. So it makes it,
of course. When I saw you with that African, it's kind of what I was like.
So the African attire for me was when I went to Cameroon the other day is the colors, colors. And if you notice with my images, the colors are so sharp and brilliant. So when I saw,
you like your colors really brilliant and
so when I saw the art, I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. Like
I want it on me.
But I'm having this thing that I'm doing right now for every country I go to. I look for a traditional cloth and just do like a collection of. Because I don't have time. Like sometimes I don't have time to go to the shop to look for. Because if you find me either I'm in Crocs.
Okay.
I'm in khakis.
Sawa.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Hope we'll have another chance to talk more because even my personal friendship with you, I know there is so much more that you want to share.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
I hope that, for our followers and viewers, they've gotten a chance to learn something, whether you want to just get into other different kind of content, whether you want to write documentary work. I hope you've gotten some nuggets of wisdom and knowledge from almost a decade of experience in Tony Wild. And we hope to see you in the next podcast, number 4, next week. Thank you very much for watching.